What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Now behind me is my 2015 Genesis Coupe 3.8. But this isn't just any 3.8, because this car has a Remnant Performance turbo kit with a 70mm turbo on it. Now in the last video you saw, we took the yellow Genesis 3.8 to the Catskills to get it weighed, since it had been 5 or 6 years since I had done it with that car, and it surprisingly came out to only 3,280 pounds with basically no fuel inside the car. And in the last video, I talked about how I was very interested in doing a similar thing with this car, knowing that it's the second generation, which is a bit heavier than the first generation. And this car, like I stated, has a turbo kit on it. And I'm very interested, and I'm sure you are interested as well, to find out how much weight the turbo kit actually adds to the car. You know, people talk about adding a turbo kit to make more power, but there's a little bit of an offset there, because when you add a turbo kit and all the piping, the intercooler, the extra exhaust piping, all the lines for power steering extensions, and the oil lines and water lines and wastegate, blow-off valve, so many things get added with the turbo kit for these cars, and we never really discussed how that weight is going to impact how the car is actually going to perform from a straight line speed perspective, as well as around corners, because all that weight majorly is in the front of the car. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3.8 turbo to the same Catskill that we took the yellow Genesis to, and get a baseline for weight of it with the turbo kit as it sits now. Now, I have done some changes to the turbo kit. I have shortened some of the exhaust piping. I did go to a smaller turbo, albeit it's probably about the same weight. More or less, this is gonna be a similar weight to what you would expect for a second generation manual Genesis Coupe. So manual to automatic is gonna be a little bit different. This car does have some carbon fiber goodies on it, so that should hopefully help us out in what this car comes out to as far as total weight. We've got the carbon fiber hood. That should save us hopefully 30 or 40 pounds with the Sabon hood. We've got the Sabon trunk. That's probably not as much of a weight savings, but there definitely are some weight savings there with the Sabon trunk. These wheels are actually pretty lightweight. I think for the 18 by 10.5 setup for these Novias, I want to say they're at 19.6 pounds per wheel, which is pretty lightweight. If I went to a 9.5 wide in the front, I would save a pound on each side there. But nonetheless, for a 10.5 inch wide wheel, being 19.6 pounds per wheel is not bad. Now, the front tires on this setup is very similar to the rears on the factory wheels. So the weight there should be more or less the same. But on the rear, I do have a much wider tire for this car, so that's definitely going to be adding some weight. I want to say these tires in the rear are 24 or 26 pounds per tire, so it's offsetting a bit the weight savings by the lighter wheel, but nonetheless, I think it should be very interesting to see what the car comes out to. Obviously, this car's full interior, no gutting of parts inside of there to try to save weight, full trunk, spare tire in the rear, so this should give us a good idea of what you can expect if you had a similar setup on your car. Obviously, we really also want to be able to verify whether the readings we got last time for the drive axle and steer axle are somewhat accurate. I would expect that the steer axle weight would be much higher on this car with all that extra weight up forward than what we experienced when we measured the weight on the yellow Genesis. So I think this is going to be very telling, because we don't always talk about when you add a turbo kit, how it's going to impact the straight line speed and impact the car around corners. So I think this is going to be a good test to let us know exactly how much of an offset the extra weight is, and then thus how much boost you actually, in theory, need to run if you're adding a turbo kit in order to just break even for what you would be as far as power to weight with a car naturally aspirated. Obviously, the power band and everything's going to be different for a turbo car versus NA, but rough idea of what you could expect. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the car started up, warmed. It's not going to be hard to get it warmed up. It's 114 in here, but then we will get the car over to the Catskills and see how much she weighs. almost forgot to say, guys, before we hit the road, go ahead and leave a comment below what you think the 3.8 turbo will weigh once we get it weighed today. I'm guessing, knowing this car is around 3,500 pounds bone stock, a little bit of weight savings with the carbon fiber hood and trunk, a little bit extra weight in tires maybe, and then the turbo kit. And right now we're at about 75% fuel level on the gas there. So I'm gonna conservatively guess we're gonna be 3660, which if it's 3660, that's not great, but I'm gonna say 3660. Hopefully the results come in and they're better than that. But go ahead, pause the video, comment below what you think this car is gonna weigh, and we'll see once we get to the Catskills. Getting deja vu being here again. Just pulled up on the scales, got the car weighed, about to go in and find out what the results are. The results are in. Once again, we'll cover it once we get home, but let me just say, man, oh man, I'm surprised. This is, okay, yeah, we'll cover it once we get home. Guys, I don't know why I chose to do this during literally the hottest part of the day. Damn near, it's 101 degrees outside, but we've made it back. Letting the car cool down a bit, pulled into the garage. I'm gonna cool down a bit, and then we'll go over these results here and see exactly how much adding a turbo to a Genesis Coupe 3.8 actually increases the weight. Those of you that don't understand how hot it is in South Carolina, 122 inside the shop. Oh, what are you doing there? I'm just driving my car, and Four's over here. But something feels weird about it. It feels like it's a little bit boaty, maybe a little heavy. I can't quite put my finger on what exactly it could be. Let's go take a look at the tune for this car and see exactly what's going on. Engine feels all right. Feels like we're good on power. Maybe go in here. Let's see. What are we dealing with here? So we've got 561 horsepower, 3,545 pounds. Gosh, that thing's a freaking boat. Ooh. 3,461 pounds. That sounds much better. Let's go ahead and check this out. Well, we can take away some cooling to our oil, and we get all the way down to 3443. We lose a little bit of power, but I think that's what we're gonna call it. 3443. Why does that number sound awfully familiar?
Pause.
Sorry for those jokes, guys, but the results are in. So here we've got the results from last week with the yellow car. This car is naturally aspirated. The track edition automatic. It had about 2.7 gallons of fuel in it. And the stock weight for this car, track edition BK1, was 3474, and we came out to 3280. So as you heard previously, my guess for the black car, which is right here, 2015 turbo, it's a base / R spec manual, had about 12.8 gallons of fuel in it when we measured it, and the stock weight is right around 3,500 pounds. So what do you think the weight came out to? well, if any inclination from my skit earlier, 3,440 pounds, which is insane. I am very surprised by this number. Now, you can kind of see the distribution here for the steer axle and the drive axle. I tried to pull up around the same spot that I pulled up on the scales with this car. I think I was a little bit more further forward with this car, which I think is why it shows a little bit less weight on this car than this car for the drive axle. Now, while this one doesn't have a spare, it does have the battery in the trunk. That's pretty close to the same weight as a spare. So it could be close between the two as far as rear bias, but definitely more weight in the front as expected with the turbo kit, all the piping for the intercooler and the oil cooler up there, a bunch of stuff up front. So that 180-pound difference you definitely will feel, and I think that's why the yellow car feels much more nimble around corners than the black car does to me. Even if this is swayed a little bit by how far forward I pulled up on the scales. But nonetheless, 3,440 pounds. Now, thinking about it, these cars stock have pretty big mufflers that are pretty heavy. So getting rid of that in itself is saving a lot of weight. I think that helps to offset a lot of the exhaust piping that comes with the turbo kit. So very interesting results, to say the least. 3,440 pounds with that much fuel in it. If this car had the same amount of fuel in it as this car, they really would only be around a 95 to 100 pound difference, which is incredible for the power difference that you get when you go turbo. Now, obviously, these results are based on my specific build with the weight reduction that I've done. Obviously, you wouldn't expect it to be less weight than stock with adding all the turbo kit goodies, but I think with the weight reduction in the wheels and the carbon fiber bits, it's definitely made a huge difference in the car, and sitting at 3,440 making the power that it does, that is a force to be reckoned with. So I am super impressed by these results for both cars, but especially for the 3.8 turbo. Is this going to be transferable to other 3.8 turbo builds? Maybe not. You know, if you've got an automatic that's a Ultimate Edition that comes out stock at 3631, and you have, you know, stock body panels, stock wheels or heavy wheels, you know, it's not going to be one-to-one. But seeing the results here, knowing that you can get these cars to be this much weight with the power that you can make with a turbocharged 3.8 is incredible. Now, this car also does have a lightweight flywheel. I'm sure that saves some weight as well. Many different things throughout the car that are helping to get us down to this 3,440, but that is just an incredible metric, and I look forward to getting this car on the dyno so we can really compare these numbers. So what do you guys think? Were you thinking that the car was going to come out to that 3,440 pounds? Did you think it was going to be heavier? I definitely did not expect it to be as light as it is. I was thinking it was going to be definitely over 3,500, but probably over 3,600, as you saw from my guess. So very good numbers. Looking forward to getting this car with port injection and turn the boost up so we can make even more power, and just seeing how much potential a Genesis Coupe 3.8 with a turbocharger on it really has. But there you have it, guys. Who would have known you could have a full interior Genesis Coupe 3.8 turbo that actually weighs less than the factory numbers? Incredible. I'm very pleased with the results of weighing the cars today, but that's pretty much to do it for this video. Let me know down below what you want to see next for this car, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.